start off with a poll hearing. But before we do, there are only three record audio.
And I left mine in there, and go get mine, so you can count it.
So there'll be 4 and 1 video recording device.
And let me give you the papers for the poll hearing.
So this poll hearing, we are revisiting because we didn't adjourn the meeting, we recessed the meeting last time. Did we get all the replies and paperwork that we needed?
That was sent out by Al from Verizon. The cards were sent out this time. I confirmed with him.
Yeah.
And you got all the replies.
I don't have those.
So he did tell me they got all the replies.
Yes.
They had to do another mailing. They
Sure.
had some wrong
Yes,
addresses.
should come back to the town.
Confirmed with him that they had sent them out and got them back. Okay. I'll make them.
All right, so we're back on these 3 poll hearings, which is all really, as far as I can see, it's all the same project. Ludwig Road, Ludwig Branch Road, and West Road. Last time we discussed this must have been, it says August 31st, but I'm sure it was July 31st. I was looking at our agenda.
Yes.
So is there anyone here to speak to these poles being placed or replaced on these roads? Any concern about these?
I already talked about my concern. I live on 166 Ludwig. I just hope they pay attention to the arrangements I made with the marks on the street about where the pole should be, because I discussed it twice with the electric company, Western Mass, and they came twice and we set them in certain places where I hope they would be.
You're on Ludwig Road?
166 Ludwig Road.
And if they don't put them where the markings are?
Well, there's nothing I can do once they're done. Well, he's given me a number I can call to find out when they're going to be doing the job that I was trying to do.
But if they're in the wrong place, it causes a problem for the property in some way?
Well, in one case it does, because it would be, it was right in the middle of the view and everything, and I wanted it moved on the other side where it would be closer to the view. Yeah. And the other big problem is on the driveway where he plows my snow. It has to be a little bit over. There's a consideration of the distance between the poles, so we didn't go as far as I wanted it to, but it's at least far enough over.
So you don't have
So
the
that
issues?
White Scott came and looked at it.
So would you mind coming up and giving me an idea on the map? Because once we approve this,
Well,
it's
Ludwig
going to
Branch
go.
Road is right here. This is the pole they're taking down,
Yes.
which is on, I have 2 driveways, and this is one they're putting right at a very essential driveway, which is the other driveway going to my farm. And then you came there and you thought it was another house, but it isn't. And this one they're taking down, which is fine. And then they're changing the electrical approach to the house and cross both driveways instead of coming straight through the woods. And then there's another one here. I think it's this one, the third, like I said. I wanted to make sure that we changed it, and when Western Electric came, they crossed out the old markings, and there's still crosses there, and put new markings. And I just wanted to make sure that they use the new markings and not
So
cross out.
you have 2 driveways here, or it comes around to here?
No. There's 2 driveways. The house is here. This is just when they cut this road in 1958, they cut my property. Wasn't my property then, but they did. So I now only come across from each other.
Okay.
That's it. So right here, there's another piece. There's a field here, and there used to be a driveway here, but I didn't want the pole to be right where the field is. I wanted it to be a little to the side towards the trees, the woods.
So they can move it? So
Yeah, they did move it. They moved the markings. The issue is that everybody should pay attention to the markings. Hopefully.
So this other pole over by your driveway, that's not marked where it's going to go in the middle of your driveway.
No, this pole is again, The markings on the street have changed. They've been crossed out and moved over a couple of feet. That's what happened in the Western electric tank.
Do you have,
I was gonna ask, have you seen these markings or?
I have not.
Not
no.
yet, okay.
and I was wondering if the drawings here
Have been updated.
have been updated.
No. So no, they have not been updated, and I have not looked at the markings. So, and I haven't heard anything from Western Mass Electric either, so I know nothing about it.
And this is actually a Verizon project.
That's correct. It's Verizon set area. So I'm hoping that somebody from Western Mass Electric has contacted somebody from Verizon, and there's some type of updated petition plan up there somewhere, but I don't have that.
Well, I can call him because I have the number.
Yeah.
I'll call it and ask him.
You have a name?
Yes,
You do?
I mean, he's been to see me twice
Yeah, okay.
from Western Electric, so, yeah. I can
These
call
are,
him.
these are all Ludwig Road, and the date on all of them is June 20th, so if they need to be, how long ago did you meet?
Well, it was after, before June 20th.
Wow.
This first plan was made the year before,
Mhm.
and then Verizon pulled out, so they never did it. Then they came back and started again making markings. So, I had this discussion with him before June 20th, but I'll call and ask. He was very nice. I just wanted.
How are you going to agree to something tonight when nobody knows what's going on? I mean, like the big companies.
We
not this one.
haven't agreed to anything yet. That's the reason we have a poll hearing, right, is to hear what the issues are.
Can you imagine the trouble you have?
Well, what we wouldn't want to have happen is after the conversations, somehow A didn't get to B, didn't get to C,
Right.
and even though there's markings in the road,
Right.
they all end up where they're not supposed to be, because then it's gonna be hard to get anybody to move them where they agree.
Sounds like you had a very good discussion. Your name, ma'am?
Helen Petkus, PKAS.
Sounds like you had a great discussion, but unfortunately it wasn't with the people that are doing the job.
Well, they always kind of work together, except they told me it would be Verizon putting the poles.
Yeah,
So,
I was kind of questioning that myself in my head, was why was Western Mass Electric up in the first place? Marking roads and that type of thing like Verizon said earlier. They should have had a representative from Verizon up there with them. So that's,
Where are you from?
let me introduce myself. My name is Paul Davis and I work for a company called UC Synergetic.
Oh,
We're an engineering contract company for Verizon, so we do their engineering design work. So whether it be an actual Verizon engineer or somebody from our company or another contracting company should have been out there with the electric company talking with this lady at the same time so that everybody's all on the same plane and knows what's going on.
that's true.
Do you have a copy of this plan, so
No.
you roughly have an idea of where the measurements are from?
What do you mean the measurements?
Well-
Between the poles?
Yes.
Where? Because
He was talking measurements when he did this, and he was trying to go at the edges of what he had to do. But I paced between the poles, and they're really the same,
Right.
even the way they've been moved. But that's just my pacing, because I wanted to make sure that there is an even.
well, it actually looks to me like there's gonna end up being twice as many poles according to.
Oh, there are
the
more
plan.
poles, but they're changing sides, they're doing all kinds of different things, because they're taller. There are more poles. Yeah, I would like a copy.
How do we get back into the loop with Verizon and Western Mass so that you're aware of what's going on? Because it sounds like somehow this job is going to be in your hands eventually.
All right, I'll just speak for mine, because I'm thinking ahead, like, let's say, for example, hypothetically, we table this for tonight's meeting. Do we do this again next month type deal? So that was where I was thinking. But to answer your question, all it would take me is to go back into the office tomorrow, find out who the electrical engineer is in this area, call them up, set up a meeting, meet out in the field, and make sure that they agree with all of the locations, either to the petition or what's painted on the street currently, and hash it out and make sure that the locations are all agreed upon amongst all parties before poles get set. Because once they get set, like you said, it's very difficult to pull out and redo. That's a major no-no. So again, somebody should have been out in the field with the electric guy as he's talking with this lady about where poles are going to be moved and so on and so forth, because they don't set the poles. Verizon sets the poles. So they really have no say other than agreeing with Verizon where poles are going to be moved and to be final set in the ground, period. So again, to answer your question, I would have to call, find out who's responsible for this area, get together with them, figure it out, and hash it out, and make sure what's on paper is what's in the ground.
I mean, it sounds to me, from you pointing on here, that there's two poles in question, that 10 or 15 feet either way would probably make the difference.
We didn't move anything from 15 feet, because he wasn't Verizon, but he was very aware where the poles, the distance should be between the poles. So we moved, at the most, we moved something 4 or 5 feet, at the most.
But even still, that would have to be
It
voted
would have
upon by
to
the
be,
state.
Yeah, and it would have to be part of the plans,
That's
because the
right.
people that go out and put them out, they're just going by the plans.
That's right, exactly.
If I was you, would I want this to come back again, making sure that the markings were right on the paper as well as on the road?
Yes, everything has to match. So if the current petition plan says hypothetically 200 feet, and she has a 3 to 4 foot problem with plowing and driveways, then it should say 197, 196. It shouldn't say 200 feet, because they'll place it at 200 feet based on the petition. That's the problem.
But how many people's poles are going to change? How many houses are on your list on those roads?
On those 3 roads, they've all been notified. All the abutters have been notified.
Were you notified?
Yeah, I had a poll.
Yeah, that's the,
So, and they're not here tonight, boy,
So they probably don't have an issue.
when the issue's sure enough after all the poles.
Well, these aren't the first poles that have been placed in the town of Ashfield,
I know.
right? I mean,
And I've heard all about.
There's thousands upon thousands of poles in the town of Ashfield, so. I would make a motion to put this off for a month, the one on Ludwig Road. Till, give them a month to come back with an updated and confirmed plan.
right.
You have this young lady's telephone number,
Yeah,
so
I
you can contact.
we should, yeah, and if and when whoever decides to get together in the field should contact you to make sure that the poles are being placed where you want the poles to be placed.
Right,
Exactly,
okay. I need to give you my number. Okay.
yes, that would be good.
I'm going to give him my number and your number.
Do you want to be the point person in this, so she should be able to talk with you as well?
Yeah, for the initial part, because again, I don't know if I'll be the person on the field or not. That will be left up to whoever decides that.
But to coordinate that with
yes.
Verizon and Western Mass.
Yeah.
Or-
So what I'll do before I leave, I'll give both these ladies my cards, and they'll have all my contact information.
I'm going to call him. I need these.
What would be it? What would be it? Date in there.
I'm going to give you her number too. Unless you can.
I didn't bring my calendar, you got it.
Oops, trying to. 21st?
First. We'll put it off till October 21st.
Yeah,
We'll
okay.
table it to bring it back again on, that's my motion.
Second?
All All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, that was unanimous, so we'll set that off till the 21st. We get to meet again.
Yeah, we'll see you a third time around.
Is there anybody that has,
Just like Ludwig so far.
Well, is there anyone that has concerns on the petitions to change poles on Ludwig Branch Road or West Road? All right.
My friends from Ludwig, West Road, Ludwig Branch Road didn't get here today, but I will tell them what's going on.
Well, they've been notified.
I know.
And if they're
I
not,
don't think they had any problems. This is dirt road and it's like all woods. It's not like
Ludwig Branch.
Ludwig Branch, right. I know 3 people along that road. There's 3 houses there. And the first one doesn't have any problem with the second one. She said she wanted to hear what was coming, but she works late, so maybe she didn't get here. And the third one is just moved in, so.
I think the notifications that go out say if you
Yep.
have any concerns, you can contact Verizon directly, so there's been opportunity here for 6
Right.
weeks probably.
But I'll tell them what happened.
So not seeing any issues on Ludwig Branch and West Road, I would make a motion to approve these pole placements.
For these other 2.
For these other 2,
West.
first, West Road and Ludwig Branch. Second.
You got 2/3.
Almost there.
All right, any other discussion on this? All those in favor say aye. Aye. That was unanimous. So 2 approved and 1 tabled for the 21st. So I imagine you're going to get right on your horse and try to get this.
Tomorrow morning, first thing.
Did I get your?
Hopefully it won't be too frosty.
We'll be doing this in the spring.
All right?
Because I'm going to call, what's his name tomorrow? What's the letter?
It took us,
Mr. Longview, Mr. Longview, or something like that. I have it written down at home. Sorry.
it took us less time to approve 2/3 of them than it did to decide we were going to table all 3 of them last time, so.
There you go. All right. Thank you for your time again. We'll see you in 4 weeks. We'll talk to you
Thanks a
later
lot,
soon,
you
I
were
hope.
fun.
All right. We'll see you.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
I can't believe they won't make every effort to accommodate.
After all of this, I thought they should. Well, you know, it is odd because Western Mass came right away. And they had an arrangement the year before, which Verizon pulled out of. Not him, but there was a Verizon woman there when they came around the first time. But then they came and did this last summer and again, and did the plans, and Verizon wasn't around. So, I don't know why. They talked Verizon into coming back. That's what he told me. Because Verizon didn't really want to be involved. We all were hoping they put Wi-Fi out.
In a month,
No way.
there's the wishing.
Yeah.
But anyway, go in a month, hopefully you'll have it.
Okay.
Everybody will have it
I'm
ironed
sure
out.
we're meeting on the.
And they'll be making progress.
Yeah.
Okay?
He was absolutely right. They should communicate about what they're planning.
All right. Next appointment is Chief Droney. How are you? Should come right up front where we can,
Where would you like?
just anywhere where we can, so I don't have to be looking past the microphone. Hey.
Want me to stand?
No, you don't have to stand.
Do you like me to sit next to you?
Yeah.
I like to sit next to you.
There you go. That's fine.
I want to be in a position of power.
Yeah.
This is a lot worse, I mean, a lot better.
It's a modification.
Yeah, it's a modification of an existing policy, and it's just based on recommendation from the Massachusetts Police Association. So, just tweaking it a little bit, changing it from, for example, before it said use of lethal and less lethal force, to just use of force. And just a lot of things with reformatting and basic things of that nature, nothing controversial. And I apologize, I tried doing this fancy thing where you can see what the changes are, but it makes the type very, very small.
It was very small.
Yes, very small. It's smaller than I realized it was until I just started trying to look at it, so it's trying to pass.
Yeah, I had it on my computer, I expanded it so I could know what it was.
Yeah, so I won't make that mistake.
I didn't try to print it for that reason. Did you have any questions?
It's right here. No.
So you need us to approve that?
Yeah, it's just basically an update. The original policy was issued in June 2011, so it's basically, like I said, just an update of that policy. Really it doesn't change our procedures, it just tweaks.
Looked to me like it just tweaks some of the language.
Right, exactly, and then definitions, there's additional ones and the latest ones that were no longer used, so basically complies with our legal experts over at the Massachusetts Police that we pay a lot of money for.
Was there anything in the suggested changes that you received that were incorporated that caught your eye in particular?
No, not at all. Like I said, most of it was just tweaking language, redefining some things in a little bit different way. For example, bodily harm, that wasn't in the old policy, so they just changed that, they added that. They deleted physical injury and serious physical injury, and they changed it to bodily harm and serious bodily harm, so there must be some legal reason why they did that, so maybe to comply with the court case in Boston or something like that, so like I said, nothing that scared me.
So, like 4 or 5 pages in, so most of this red stuff that have been added here, like aftercare, medical attention.
Yep.
That to me looks as if that's all part of the new definitions they gave.
Yeah, exactly. They just changed it because there was always a means in there for you to have to attend people who got injured, but it's just the way they just redefined it. So obviously, if you use force and legal force on somebody, you're supposed to use certain procedure. For example, if you use pepper spray, you're supposed to wash their eyes out to lessen the effects. So I mean, it just basically standardizes it. Like I said, there's nothing really true there.
That's good. So I move that we approve that you need us to approve this for your department. General Order 1.3.2, which has been relabeled use of force.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It's unanimous.
And one other thing, real quick. Becoming increasingly concerned about the radio issues. Fortunately or unfortunately, the problem will be going away once the leaves come off the trees, but we're having a great deal of difficulty communicating with dispatch in certain parts of town, which I know you guys are aware of. We've had meetings about it in the past, but it's, for whatever reason, and Diane can speak to this as well, for whatever reason, the last few months have been really bad. And it's an officer safety issue, it's a public safety issue. There are just certain parts of town where we cannot get out on the radio, we can't get out on a cell phone. And of course the concern becomes, we had a situation, fortunately happened in a good part of town a couple of weeks ago where Officer Roy had somebody going down, what was it, Spruce Corner?
Yeah.
Spruce Corner Road in excess of 90 miles an hour on radar, and ended up stopping the car, drunk driving, obviously, go 90 miles an hour, you gotta have problems.
I'm trying to think on Spruce Corner Road where you can get to.
Right by the school, right in the straight where they come out of there. And, anyway, he was intoxicated, he was okay for a while, but then he started getting obstinate with the officers. Fortunately, he had back up there at the time. The state police came and was Buckland. So, but we were in part of town where the officer could ask for assistance. If it was down the other part of Spruce Corner Road or other parts of town, that would have been possible. And we have an impact weapon that we carry. We have mostly just pepper spray. We have firework. We don't have tasers or anything like that. So our options are limited. And pepper spray, especially on people who are under the influence of either drugs or alcohol, is not really effective. So once again, that's where the public safety issue comes into it, because we don't have that, the means somewhere in the middle of it, there where we could use a different type of force if we had to. So I just wanted to go on record saying we're really, really concerned about it. Diane can probably speak to it a little bit more if you'd like.
Are there more spots, or, I mean, are they bigger spots than what
It seems
the problem has been in the past, or?
It seems to be getting worse and worse. I don't know if it's, we're using the portables more, mostly just the portables. For instance, a easy motor vehicle stop, middle of the day, you can walk up to the car and everything goes bad. You don't necessarily have backup coming to assist you because it's just a normal motor vehicle stop. So you never know what you're walking into. So all you have for communication is you're dealing with right at the car, and he's coming out at you, is your portable. And we can't really help. Ashfield Lake House, I was over there, and I couldn't talk to my dispatch about an unattended vehicle over there. I couldn't get through to them,
Even at the lake house?
even at the lake house.
And, you know, we actually were looking into a possible solution, but Dell told us that it wasn't possible. There's actually something you can get for a cruiser called an in-car repeater, which will actually take the, if you use the portable, basically acts as almost like it'll transmit from the portable to the cruiser and use the cruiser radio to get out. But apparently, because of the radio system at Shelter Control, we can't do that because it interferes with everybody else's communication. So there's a problem with being able to do that. I was going to price something out to see if that was a possible solution, and we were told that that probably was not going to work for us. So that one dead spot that we talked about before, which is out Watson Spruce Corner, out that area, and there are some others as well coming to the road. We're aware of that, but it just seems to craft into other areas of town, especially the portables. So,
The elementary school, we have no portable communication in the elementary school.
which is a huge problem.
Sounds like something effective. I mean, we knew we had some dead spots, and one of them's down the mountain towards Buckwood. That's the third one, I think. But
Yeah.
I don't remember these issues coming up when we talked about it, what, 3-4 months ago?
Yeah, Sanderson was really not a problem, it was addressed prior, but we've noticed recently that that's become a problem. I mean, the radios were the same, we still have some radios from before, as far as the car radios. The portables are new, but they were working, the portables we've got, 2 years ago, Diane? So the portables are 2 years old, and they've been working fine, but like I said, over the last probably 6 months, it's become really noticeable.
I'm assuming, which is never good, but that this is the same radio system, radio frequency that the fire department and probably the ambulance, Hilltown ambulance?
They simulcast one, right? Fire department?
That's the, yeah.
Yeah, we're on simulcast 2, they're on simulcast 1. And they have problems as well. If you ask Del, I don't want to speak for him, but he'll tell you they have problems as well. I don't know if he's noticed the same issue we have.
I don't,
Getting worse, I don't believe so.
I don't think the ambulance may not have as many because they're going to Berkshire County, they're going to Northampton. And I think they're picking them up better than ours, actually.
You have more background in this than I do, because they brought it to you 2 years ago, right?
At least 1 year ago. Yeah, it's been question. The first thing that occurs to me would be we had certain dead zones, but now you're having issues with the portable devices in places never identified before, and I'm wondering if it behooves us to spend the money and get brand new portable devices as a first step to see if it's the device, as well as asking, we get the service to FERCog to have them check the towers that are supplying the city.
Well, I know there was talk of adding that tower out in Plainfield, I think. There's a tower here, and I don't know whatever became of that. I was at the meeting when we talked about it. I know
Meeting
Bill-
here.
Yeah, and I know Bill Perlman was looking into it, and I know there was a cost involved, I believe. I don't remember what it was, but, you know, I don't know if that would solve the problem. Like I said, these portables, we've got 4 new portables that we bought 2 years ago that are Motorola. They're good, they're not cheap, you know, they weren't cheap portables. So, you know, I don't know if that's the issue, if we could try a different type on a trial basis and see if we can narrow it down if maybe there is a problem. But,
And I think those 3 spots you might be talking about, even the cruiser radios don't work with.
Right.
3 spots, and these are the portables themselves outside of the cruiser. And I'd be more than happy to take either of you or all of you out and you can ride around and try using the portables and.
That was my next question, is there a difference between using the portables and using the cruiser?
oh, yeah.
If there, you get more reception with
The
your
cruiser's better, but it's still not as good as it was a year or so ago. But we've noticed the portables, it's been obvious, I mean, it's been noticeable that we're just not getting out. So, the cruiser's a little bit, but like I said, once the leaves are down in a few weeks, that part won't be an issue, and we'll see how the portables go for the winter.
So it doesn't really have to do with you don't have radio service where you don't have cell service.
Not necessarily.
Because the elementary school, there's cell service there.
I'll get it pulled up here. I mean, it's not great, but you do top of the driveway, it's all service. It's not always on the bottom.
The fire department is using their personal phones for cell service in areas where the radio system is out.
Yeah, there's some places, but I watched the Spruce Corner with no cell service out there, so. And like I said, you may only have a chance to get to your radio for a second or sit there and dial, you know, an iPhone or something.
So previously, when you had this problem, when the leaves came off the trees, it improved.
That's what Dell said. I didn't have that experience because I've been here long.
One good example is, Dell was telling me that he was at a motor vehicle accident, or his guy drove at a motor vehicle accident, was on Spruce Corner Road, I believe, Plainfield Road out in that area. The person in the car became combative, and they had to go through the ambulance service, and then they went through their dispatch in Berkeley County, and went and called Shovel Control, so they could get an officer there. They were holding him down the whole time, you know?
What if we should report it to FERCog to pay the maintenance to them? But I'm still wondering about.
And I don't know if it's related to the reprogramming, because they already did reprogramming. And they actually did a survey, and all I wasn't happy about it because they did the customer service was off.
This was who?
The company that did the reprogramming for FERCog.
For the narrow bed.
The narrow band, yes.
Who are we using now for our communications equipment? It used to be Western Mass Communication, now I don't.
The last time last time I did a service was Tower Communications at a Chick-fil-A. That's what Dell uses. And they did really good. I had a problem with the cruiser radio. You know, they took care of it.
Have we contacted them at all?
I haven't.
Kind of show them what our problem is?
I can call them tomorrow and talk to them, but.
Yeah, I think so.
I-
It's important.
I think it's probably both, but I think if we had a professional that knew a whole lot more about it than I do.
I mean,
right? And came out and you showed them what the problem is, and they could lead you, then we could, some of it's our equipment problem, and some of it's the radio. But
Sure.
Does that kind of make sense to you?
Well, you're trying to figure out where to start.
My guess is the narrow band has something to do with this. I can't say that for sure.
Did Bill Perlman ever come back to us to a cost, or what it would cost to put up an extra tower? Or?
I was never told of another meeting. I'm not aware, but I know that first meeting was asked.
I have talked to Bill a couple of months ago about that.
Waiting for used equipment, for somebody to give us used equipment so we can have it, so it would keep the cost like
One of the
$35,000.
discussions, yeah, I was gonna say around 30, something like that. And I think when I last spoke to him about the used equipment, that was not looking good, like that was gonna happen.
And that was for out of the playing field.
That was, and that's probably why we continue to encumber the money that we put aside to fill the narrowband mandate to reprogram. When Call came through with the money for that, we've held on to that and moved it forward to start to put together the money for the tower out there, because that will be our responsibility, it seems.
I think I would feel very comfortable if you could get those folks on that. Not that it's never an emergency until it's an emergency, right? But if they could come up and you could show them. I don't believe in Ashfield just knowing the lay of the land and what we have, that we ever have 100% coverage.
Right, and yeah.
But if there were a few things that could be done to improve you, to make up 50% of what we don't have now,
Right.
in my mind, I'm thinking that would be.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, I'll find out how it goes with the portables once the leaves are down. It may not be an issue for the next 6 months, you know what I mean? So, I mean, that takes the immediacy out
And
of
he
it.
needs to get here in the next 2 weeks while the leaves are on.
Well, I was gonna say, yeah, I'd ask him
All
to
right,
come
comes
up
out
with
pretty
it.
good. Yeah, I'll give Tower a call tomorrow and see if I can
Nick,
take a look at it.
and you said the fire department, the police department are on different simulcasts.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's anything while that person's here, if when they're coming, have them deal with this first, because it sounds like you're having more trouble with the fire department.
He's having a lot of problems, but I don't know if this is in the level line.
Probably should,
I'll talk to Dell.
we should coordinate with
Yeah.
them, I would think.
Well, why you go? If you get them here, keep them all day, check it all out.
And how about if I give the call tomorrow and ask them what, if anything, they know about it, and if narrowband, which does work a little differently than follows a different line than the old communication used to.
Yeah, it's a,
My
the
plan,
federal government in their wisdom did this narrowbanding thing. It's basically, it's an unfunded mandate. All towns got stuck with it in the country. And I know my farmer town, they have to pay over $1 million to get their stuff redone. Courtesy of that, that's,
makes the old telephone bills look cheap, doesn't it?
So the power communications is the preferred people to speak with?
Tower Communications, that's
Tower.
free. Yeah. That's who Dell's used. I've used it the last couple of times. When I bought my portables, I got it out of somebody else. Allcom, they're up here in the state. I got it with somebody close. And we've had good luck with
I
that.
gotta believe that they might give you a better idea on those repeaters that you're talking about
Yeah.
than just, not that Dell doesn't know, but his experience may be different than the
Yeah,
equipment.
absolutely.
I mean, I'm sure that technology changes as fast as cell phone technology.
I mean, they're widely used, of course.
And will they check out these handheld radios for you? Because, you know, from my point of view anyway, that if they thought you needed something different,
Yeah.
better, whatever.
Well, they are a Kenwood dealer, and we got more rolls, so they may tell us that we need Kenwood.
That fine too. Because it sounds a bit dangerous in more than.
Yeah, it's, I mean, you know, we're not a busy department, we just need that one time, and,
Yeah.
you know, something happens. And like I said, it's an officer safety issue, but it's also a public safety issue.
Yeah, it's never really a problem till it's my problem.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we've got that meeting Thursday night
Yes,
with FERCog, and I was planning on being there at 3 o'clock.
okay.
And I was gonna catch Bob Dean on that accounting contract that we talked about
Yep,
last
yep.
week. And I can bring up the radio deal at the same time.
Somebody would agree.
Maybe. And I'm not sure that he's the right ear to catch, but maybe he can be. I'm sure Bob will be right. Okay?
Sure.
So I'll chase it from that end, if you chase it from this end.
All right. We'll do, I'll let Paul know.
Sounds good.
You got one more issue for us?
I don't think so.
That you want to appoint an officer.
I don't have a person ready. We'll conduct a couple of interviews, so probably within a couple of weeks, I'll have some. Okay, we're all set.
We'll be glad to see you come back. Thanks, Chief.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda, Sherry Scott, Bronson Avenue. Talking about that parking lot. You got a chance to go down and visit the site there?
Yes.
I went a couple of different times.
Okay.
And we're kind of marching around. Amazing how much wasted land there is. You know, nothing.
Yep.
So, are you thinking that first you'd like to get this straightened out because the planting, some of those plantings were there before you even purchased the property?
Yes.
And does it fit into your plans as far as an addition or a garage or something that you'd like to improve your property? Is that, that's what you'd like to do? I don't feel it's a problem to make some type of arrangement to adjust that boundary.
I think we have a problem.
But I do think that it's not as simple as I would like it to be, because I think what we need to do is come up with a plan on this piece of property. Are we gonna develop it for parking more than what it is, or whatever we're gonna do? I mean, I think that is the bigger plan.
Did you happen to ask anybody from the zoning board to come this evening?
No.
Okay. This, from all I can find, is what they call a non-conforming piece of property. And we may have to check with them because from what I understand, we can't make changes that make it more non-conforming by changing its size, given the way it's spec'd out and wanting to move the boundary, over. And then the second one would be, like you said, what does the town really want to do with it? And if they wanted to no longer keep it because they don't need parking for school, for teachers, then we probably want to get some appraisals of what it's worth. And however the town decides whether it doesn't want to keep it and, put it out to bid and sell it is an option. If we didn't want it anymore.
I suppose.
Well,
I know.
it's,
Like I
it's
said,
not as simple.
it's a bigger, what you're talking about is quite a lot bigger kettle of fish than what I was thinking.
So there's a third thing, and that is, what do they want to do with this space in terms of making more parking or
What
whatever?
does the town want to do?
Right.
That's kind of the issue at that point.
And then I'd like to find out from the zoning board, what does that mean if is there a restriction that would prevent us from doing anything with just making any alteration? And then can we really do that? Because it's an asset, and we just take a piece of it and move it in a different direction.
I guess you're thinking of the zoning board different than I do.
Well, I just went onto the internet and read it to see if they had anything out there that could be of any help to us. The only thing I found is that it's an older piece of property called non-conforming. And
Right, but the zoning board, or at least the ZBA, my understanding is that their issue, their deal is that you come up with a plan and then they're going to approve or deny the plan. They're not going to be an advisor to us on how to break that up. I think we have to decide what use the town has with that piece of property.
I was concerned to
If
have them
there
advise us.
isn't a use,
Yep.
like you said, I mean, I hadn't even thought of that, of actually selling that lot.
Mhm. I'm not recommending it, I'm just saying it's an
No,
option.
but it's an
the town
option I
has.
hadn't really thought of.
What I wanted from the zoning board, or hoping they could advise us, can we actually change this footage? Or is there a restriction that says you cannot go do that? That it's already non-conforming and you can't make it smaller? I don't know. That's why I'm throwing up, wanting to get an answer from them about it.
But I do think in the long term that there has to be some availability of parking in the village. Now, is that the perfect spot? Most likely not. But it is a spot that we have.
And making it bigger would help if you're gonna do parking.
So-
Or keep it for parking.
So do you understand where I'm coming from, Sherry, as far as it kind of opens up a bigger issue
Yeah.
than just trying to accommodate increasing your lot so you can make the improvements that you'd like to. I don't think one is mutual, myself, I don't believe one is mutually exclusive of the other. But I think we have to come up with a plan because there's as much of this lot, of course, you know, this says this is where the top of the bank is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not entirely sure that's where the top of the bank is now. But there's a tremendous amount of that lot that's not used for anything except growing some brush and holding the rest of the road together.
Right.
And it's probably, I'm sure it's just as useful as the rest of that lot in developing that, so. So what, I mean, do you have a proposal or a thought that you think we should move forward on?
I think the easiest one for me, or the simplest answer is to get the zoning board people to advise us, maybe come to a meeting and say, okay, if everything were the same and we wanted to take, you know, X number of feet over here and move that boundary, is that really allowed? Or is there some restriction? That changes the whole scope of what we're looking at, in my mind. If they say, no, you're not allowed to do that for X, Y, Z reasons, we can still pursue what does the town want to do with this lot. Doesn't help. Sure. I don't know the answer. I just feel I have a question. And it would take some effort to develop that into more parking, I suspect. Although this is pretty much what, dirt, gravelly, it's not paved or anything, so, yeah. So it might be easy enough to cut some brush around and widen it up.
I imagine that some of that, looking at it, was Phil brought in from other locations at some point.
Yeah, I don't know.
And then how often is it used? Like you said, does the town need the parking? If most of the time it's empty, as opposed to used.
Well, it certainly isn't advertised. It's not like there's a sign out on Main Street that says parking.
It says baseball.
During baseball season, they park.
There's two signs that are up there all the time. But But most of the people for baseball go up to the other parking lots by the school and the tennis court because it's closer to the ball field. So the most use it really gets is Fall Festival.
Do they get right in there and fill it up? And
Yeah. And then just, people on the street when they need extra parking, because it's not a very wide street, so if people have guests, or they're trying to shovel their driveways or something, people go up and use it. So it's mostly the people on the street that use it.
Actually, Tom, the request for the change doesn't affect the quantity of cars that can be used in the parking lot. I mean, there's a significant amount of space there for the double parking as currently exists. So moving the boundary line, either boundary line agreement or conveyance for that strip, does not affect the capacity of the lot as it currently stands.
This is my question, looking at it, is that if we develop the rest of it where the brush has just grown up, how many feet would it take for us to have more parking than what we have now?
I don't think you can have any more because
Well,
because it just goes down linear. It's a linear thing.
We've
Cars
got
facing it.
about 20 feet there, from what I can figure, at least a dozen or 15 feet of brush on the back side. You know how that comes in from that other property line.
Oh, you mean where the big trees are near the brook? The bank?
In the
On
back?
the back side,
Wow.
Oh,
that line doesn't go straight, well, it comes straight off the street, but in that lot, it looks to me like it comes off at a bit of an angle as far as the parking lot. It looks to me like there's
Some additional.
some real estate there that could be developed if,
There's some big trees there. I'm not
If
sure
we
where
wanted.
they are. Yeah.
you mean that are on the bank?
or
So-
coming back to the bank.
Um,
Now, how much engineering and stabilizing that might take to
Ooh,
do
that's
that,
a lot.
I don't know.
no.
But I think we need to come up with some kind of plan. I mean, maybe it's not gonna work for any type of municipal parking. There may be a reason to that, but I think it's something we should look into before we even start on the rest of it. At first glance, this, 79 feet, when I looked at it and I had my tape measure with me, if we came out, so your lot was 100 feet, it really doesn't encumber the parking lot the way it is now. I mean, it brings it right up to the edge of that, to make yours the 100-foot lot. Would be. But I just can't think of doing that until we get some people to look at that, on how to develop that parking lot. I guess my question is, do you feel that's important to do? That we should either come up with an idea of what to do with this, or not do anything with it?
I think your idea of looking into what to do with it for additional parking is an option. I think having it appraised, and if the town were to say, okay, we're just gonna sell that lot and be done with it, is something to get a number for, to understand what we're looking at. And the third one is to inquire the zoning board about this lot in terms of the definition. When I look online, it's not conforming. What can we, or what is allowed or not allowed? Are there any issues there before we try to do anything that turns out we weren't supposed to do? Because I think we got to get, just to weigh in, advise us.
It won't take a telephone call, and probably about $300 to get an appraisal on that. I'd be surprised to see what the valuation would come up on a non-conforming lot.
Other than somebody, I presume, could build on it now, if they want to put a house on it.
No way.
I think they'd have to go to the ZBA to get approval to do it.
No way.
And go to the
And
zoning board
it's-
to get approval to do that.
Right, and it seems hard to imagine, I mean, when you look at the other lots, they'd have to have a reason why they couldn't, but I see, well, then that'd be another answer, is it really lily lot? Or is it really suitable for parking?
So you see the confusion, we've got our feet firmly in midair.
I see that.
Betty, since you live right next door,
Couple of comments. I don't believe you should even try to make the lot go back farther to make more parking, because once you cut down all of that brush, it's going to destabilize that bank. When there's flooding waters come down in there, that bank needs to be there, and it needs to have things there that are retaining that wall, or it's going to be in my backyard. And the other thing is, every house on the street is a non-conforming lot. They were put in hundreds of years ago. But the street is so narrow, when we get significant snow, we've got one track down through that road, so people have to have a place to put their vehicles. We can't leave them in the street. You have to move the snow out of your yard, out of your driveway, and that's what, we all use it, we have to use it. And I think it would be terrible of the town to decide just to sell that lot. To start with, I think you would have an uphill battle to consider it a building lot. It's not big enough in today's standards, because it would be a new thing, so it wouldn't be able to go by the grandfathering where we're all got our own small lots. And just for the fact that it is used for overflow, for the baseball people, for any other function in town, there's always been people being able to use that lot. And you've got to have someplace to let the people park. You can't just shut down everything. There's no place on Main Street where you can make a parking lot. I mean,
except Main Street.
Well, except Main Street, yeah. But even, you know, when it's in the winter, you can't park on Main Street, especially overnight. But anyway, those are my comments, that I really think the lot should just stay the way it is and let it be a simple parking lot for an overflow for everybody to use.
So we getting anywhere? You kick some ideas around. Not one of them is a bad idea.
Shall I contact ZBA and just ask some questions, or ask them, you know, if somebody bought the lot, can, you know, off the top of their head as a group, is that, yes, they can build on it, no, they can't, can the dimensions of it change, just any general basic information?
I think, yeah, I mean, either the ZBA
Not
or the
talking
planning
about
or whatever.
taking the parking away, we're
Just
just
to get
talking
some
about
ideas.
Oh, no, I don't need
No, I think the parking is just there.
Just give you a chance to.
Yeah, I understand.
In the rules and stuff.
No, because I'm not going to
If you want. Planning board. Just ask a question, like.
The point about the tax is good, though. It's a good point.
Stewards on the ZBA.
Who else is on the ZBA? Walcott.
I'm only at Reeves, just Kitten Island,
Any of those.
and the Bay Area.
Okay.
So, Sherry, I don't think we're getting very far with you tonight, but we're gonna keep working on it.
Okay.
And Paulette's gonna try to get some ideas and some feedback, which I think would be great. And maybe we can work this into a master plan and figure out what we're doing.
I can ask the assessors what they know with the lot at.
I don't think very many of us would want to sell our property for what the assessors value. Huh? All right. Okay, Sherry.
All right, thank you.
Thanks for coming in. We promised to take it up. We are in a better place. At least
Yeah.
we got an idea on the whole lot and looking at the bigger picture.
Now, some of what you were saying there wasn't just only going towards the brook, but going that way towards the other lot.
Yeah,
where
going
there's
east. Going east. I think there's.
Right.
I think there's
space.
not necessarily the bank. I think there's 15 or maybe as much as 20 feet that can go east to the house that's marked Richard Kelly there.
And maybe if it's going to stay a parking lot, that's, might as well make it a better parking lot.
I mean, let's take a look at it, and
Yeah.
kind of get an idea and mark it out. And see, I mean, maybe, at some point, it's gonna have to be addressed in town before we do too many other things. I mean, it's great we've got so many things going on, we just don't even have a place for people to tie up their horse if they come in, so. All right,
All right. Thank
thank
you.
you. Kathleen Caravan, reclassification of a parcel under chapter 61.
Yeah, thank you for agreeing to see me. I'm just meeting with the planning board Wednesday night for approval not required, and I have the survey with me tonight, if you'd like to see it.
You brought it.
Yeah.
I love it around.
This is the model, and this is the copies. See it later. So the farm is here, and the Farm Service Agency is my holding my mortgage for the whole thing. And I've talked with them, and they've agreed to do a partial release of this lot. Part of which is in conservation that the Farm Service Agency put in conservation. It's got more than enough frontage, and it's almost 5 acres, it's a little over 5 acres. And it's Walt's house is over there. And I got the rest. I gave them but we have a buyer. I have a buyer. And what Farm Service Agency wants to do is take the majority of the funds and take it on my farm. So it keeps the farm viable. And I don't like to sell land.
So this is about 5 acres, and is this is in just 61, not 61A?
Correct.
So
There's none of this is cultivated. This is all, well, this is mostly our forest and wetland and some young poplar and some private areas. And then there's a little space, a little meadow here that is open, right next to the wall. And the driveway would come in. Well, actually, agreed to help them place the driveway in the house free of charge, which is really nice. Because they also do stuff and just get excited, right?
Because you said this is wetland and stuff, there isn't a lot they can do back here.
No, it's probably like right in here.
Yeah.
It's the house. And it's a builder in Conway that took down an 18th century house in Goshen, and she wants to have it rebuilt there. So the 18th century house is doing the house. I mean, it's not a big house. I don't want a big house in there. I would prefer not to. So this, I have all the people buying it. This seems like a really nice fit. Not like the way people work.
And so this is your
This is
house.
And this well is a drug well that used to be a place where the fights used to go on here, like in the 1940s or 50s, here, and then want to use that well because they're trying to have gunfights for us.
But your greenhouses are right
The
here.
greenhouses are right here, yeah, they're almost everything, I would be very good down there. It's crops back there, very crops.
So how soon do you want to close on this?
She wants to go right away, she's cash. So that's why it's good, that's what the pricing wants to go.
So this needs to come out of
Out
chapter
of chapter
61
Yeah.
and
Yeah, so I'm asking the town to do a
in terms of how much, when it comes comes out, does somebody end up having to pay some kind of taxes
I
to take it?
will have to pay some back taxes. I don't think that they're gonna be very much because it's only been in chapter 61 since 2010.
Oh, I see.
It's
Not like, gotcha.
Right.
Okay.
The rest stays in chapter 61.
Right.
The assessors will give you that information and it will all be taken care of.
Yeah, I would assume so. I've never done this before. So I have the A&R form that I have to give them on this, if you want to see that.
So you gotta go to the planning board, right? Or-
Yeah, they just hear it as a approval not required because it's got more than enough frontage and more than enough acreage and it has a test that passed, so.
Well, I don't have any plans for it, and I haven't ever heard anybody else that had any big plans for it.
It sounds great, it's gonna help the farm.
Yep, it does.
And we
Helps the
don't
Farm
have-
Service Agency say, oh, okay, you can pay your mortgage now. Go ahead.
So, no, that's, I would make a motion to waive our right of first refusal under chapter 61 on that parcel of land.
Second.
It doesn't have an actual name yet, they're just calling it Lot A at 502 Oak Hill Road.
Tax map
Tax-
7,
oh,
lot
tax
69.
map.
That's not mine.
Well, actually, this is Lot 69 too.
Well, it's a 5-acre parcel,
Yeah.
5.183 acre parcel on the east side.
I did say second.
Second, okay, good.
All right.
Any other discussion?
No?
All those in favor say aye.
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 Good luck.
Very much.
All right, you're on the fast track.
Saved me about 4 months.
You are on the fast track.
Thanks so much.
Good, good. All right. Takes care of our appointments.
I was
Go
going to
ahead.
say, our discussion last week about including a copy of the agenda with, Lynn wasn't here. I didn't know she knew about that.
I wasn't here, I was elsewhere today, so I didn't talk to her about it yet.
Oh, we were going to
But I
include a copy of the agenda that came before us at the meeting as one of the documents with the meeting minutes.
Oh, okay.
Okay, was there a discussion last week on the minutes of the 5th of last year, that there was something that needed to be done so the next step could be taken?
If you could bear with me a minute on that topic of September 5th, I've
Sure.
got good news, bad news, and good news. Okay?
We'll double up on the good news anytime
All right.
we can.
So the good news is, and I just found this out late today, because something was bugging me, so I sat down and I went through my paperwork. The minutes of September 5th, 2012 were approved September 27th of 2012.
Say that again.
They were. I brought a copy of my copy. And in order to convince myself that really was so, I went back and I played, not only looked at our old minutes, but I played the recording so I could listen to it. It was the first set of minutes approved on September 27th of 12. However, it's not in the minutes. So that's the bad news. The good news was anticipating that you might want to put this all to bed at one time. I quickly typed up, if I can find it, a very short addendum to the minutes of September 27th of 12 to document the minutes we approved. Because on the audio, if you listen, it happens in the first 3 minutes. Shall I say that again?
Nice. 3 minutes. I heard 3 minutes.
So the very first set of minutes approved on September 27th of 12 were the minutes for September 5th. And they had gone around more than once. The other reason is
They went around more than once and they still got approved in the
It
same
took
month?
them 2 cycles, but they got approved in the same month, is we added changes, and the changes are on my copy that was approved, that I've made 1 copy, and I know you can make
The
more.
changes.
The changes that why these minutes had to be changed and then came back, they are not in the copy that came before us last week or that you emailed me. So I know they're right because we added wording, believe it or not, for free cash. And that was the topic at that meeting, and it wasn't in there in actual, and we asked to have it put in actual. So I know from looking at the revisions that this is true. So,
See, my copy has. Okay.
right. But what it doesn't have is this. And that was the revision why it was sent back to be retyped, or added on to, shall I say.
Talking about the enterprise one.
Right, and there was there was one other thing, a word that Ron changed. And I went back and I have all my copies, so I went back very carefully and looked at them to follow the lineage of this along. So I made a copy of this. So somewhere you all must have this final version.
Yeah,
But I
that
copied
meeting
it
file,
nonetheless.
that's in the file. for the-
I can email some copies if you want, I just made one. But anyway, but more importantly, I thought maybe we wanted to do the addendum to fix the minutes of the 27th, because if you look here, they're not here. And we just missed it. But if you listen to the audio, it's the very first set of minutes. We approved 3 sets that night, and only 2 made it
The minutes of the 12th.
2012.
Yeah, but it just talks about the 12th.
The 12th and the 19th.
Right.
So these
And it's missing the 5th. So,
So she brought the minutes to you on the 27th, right? And they got approved on the 27th, after she was supposed to have made changes.
right.
What, on 2
and the-
separate occasions?
Yeah, I forget why I went back twice, but this final version has the changes we were after.
So you must have.
Somewhere there must be this final version.
I can look in the file for the 27th.
So I
That's presumably
copied
what
one, because
they-
I wrote on the corner that it was approved, and I said, well, this is crazy. And I said, well, it says we approved them on the 27th, but when I looked at the minutes, so I evidently wrote on them during the meeting, but then when we really approved the 27th, it just got by us all, that they were missing.
So what's your addendum that you'd like to
So
propose?
the addendum for the minutes of September 27th of 2012 is to note that the minutes were voted upon and approved, because that's what's missing here from a year ago. And this copy that I have here is the final version with the business about the free cash. And it's also got all the documents at the end already. It was good to go. It took me a while to go through this because I'm looking at the 27th. I said, well, where'd they go? I finally listened to the audio, and it was the first thing.
Yeah, the topic is at around 3 minutes, 30 to 45 seconds.
Into the recording. I thought you'd like some
Fair.
precision to know where it was.
Hey, if you just said it's somewhere between 2 and 5 minutes, that would have been through.
So, the good news is September 5th was already approved.
Well, that's all I care, because Tom needed it approved.
And you need a copy of what it's supposed to look like. And you can make a copy for you and Gary.
Tom Boyson needs to be approved, that's what.
Yeah, Tom
Problem
needed
is, when I
it
copy it,
instructions.
draft comes up really bright and bold.
Yeah, but that's gonna be her. So Mary, you've gotta have this.
You know what I probably do in the file folder?
So, the key,
I'll go into the copy, so you have yours.
so when you look at it, the key points you want to look at, if this is in here, there were only 2 changes that were important. And this word right here, see this word? In the original version, that word is different.
Okay,
And this is not there, it just stops here.
all right.
So if you find a version with those 2 things, you're good.
I'll go copy this and then get that.
Okay. Does that make sense?
So you make a motion.
So I make a motion to have an amendment to the select board meeting minutes of September 27th, 2012, about a year ago. It is addendum 2, because there already is an addendum 1, a statement that was read into the minutes for the 27th. And the amendment to the minutes say, amended minutes for September 5th, 2012. Ron makes a motion to accept said minutes. Paulette seconds, no discussion. Passed unanimously, vote 3-0-0. And pretty much it's that short on the recording.
Second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Oh, you can have that. Oh, I thought that was, oh, no, I made a copy. You can have that.
Well,
There you go. So,
That's great.
This will be-
That's straightened out.
I'm sorry, does Lynn have the copy, did you give a copy of the wording that you have there? or do you have a
I've got
copy?
multiple copies because it occurs to me you need a copy to go back into the old minutes, and you need probably a copy to go into the documentation for today. And I did this in Word, and I will tomorrow send you the Word that went with this. Is that okay? Do you need a copy?
No, I'm fine. That's pretty brief.
So there's some color there, if that helps. That was a good, bad, and good.
It's fine. It was easy. Easy fix. Thank you for doing that. Thanks for doing that.
You're weird.
If we can,
Yeah, because the one you sent is a little bit different, and there was, yeah. Okay, I'm sorry.
we're a week away from all three of us being on the board, so since these other minutes all are with 3 weeks,
Yeah.
let's just move on.
You want to wait for those?
Wait till next week to do those.
Okay, if you want to.
That-
The
that's
15th and the 31st?
The 15th and the 31st, and then I think if we go over the minutes of last week, September 12th,
You want September 12th?
let's go over those with Ron, so we made a lot of decisions that force him to come up to speed on what we did.
Right, because we don't have
We
the
made-
12th here with us.
We don't have,
Right. That was,
but it's on the
Thursday.
list. But
Right.
we have those, because we.
They're not ready yet, yeah.
I totally understand that, but if they should be ready by next week. I hope.
Oh, yeah, I talked to Susan today. She thought she'd get them done today,
And-
but she didn't.
Because we made 10 decisions probably last week, stuff to move forward on.
so you don't want to do July 15th and July 31st today?
Because all three of us are here for those.
Okay.
And it's only waiting one more
So you
week.
wanna
I don't see the,
all three?
I don't see the emergency in that.
But the ones
I just don't want to get behind again.
on the
No,
list
no.
for September 5th, the version that was handed to us last week and the one emailed today, those are not good.
Yes.
The paper copy that was given us for September 5th last week, and the version I had you email me today, that's not good. That's some earlier version that's been also doctored up in the document list, and it doesn't match what we approved. It looks different.
Well, that's what I'm saying. She's got to have
Right.
the changes. Because that's back when I would take the minutes, and I'm not going to mention any names, but it couldn't just be given to you people. It had to go through Mary and then back around. And
Yep.
so it's somewhere, obviously, because there's copies of it here.
Okay.
Good. I can wash my hands of that. It's my time. All right, so let's go to old business. Replacement paperwork for Verizon job.
Yeah. And we're going through the,
Of December 14th of 11.
yep, we were going through the poll hearing book, Town Clerk's poll hearing book recently, yep. and we noticed that there wasn't a sign complete for this hearing. I contacted Al. He got back to me a couple weeks later and said, yeah, we never, I think he was going to get some amended paperwork to the board. Hold on, I've got it here. Did get some amended paperwork to the board, and
It never came.
it maybe never got signed, but he doesn't have a copy of it, we don't have a copy of it, so here it is, and
I guess the question is, have they put the poles in yet?
I think they have. At the back of this packet is the agenda and the first page of the minutes showing the poll hearing approval on that original date.
John Ford Road, December 11th.
Myself, and
Yeah, December 11th?
December, wait a minute, December
Oh, you
11th.
think?
Yeah, no, because 12, no,
Yeah.
it was normal.
Okay.
But in the minutes at the back will probably make it clear.
What do they need telephone poles on John Ford Road for?
So the whole purpose of signing is to document that it's completed?
Yes, it was completed and voted. And neither we nor they have signed the paperwork, so he sent it.
And they put the pole from one side of the road to the other.
And it doesn't claim it's too wrong. I just
That's one jump in, lateral support, pole T2E2. They ran a guy wire, I bet.
that's
The existing pole, and they ran this one, just put a guy wire to hold it.
That sounds familiar.
December 14th of 11, 2 pole hearings, one for John Ford Road, one for Raina Pond Road. There were no concerns raised. Approved the pole placements prior to the meeting. Motion made and carried. So where do you want a signature? We have one member of that board that's here that's,
And we've looked into that before. It doesn't have to be the original board.
no, but if there's somebody here,
You could, but
We can both sign.
you can sign. Well, where do we sign it?
sorry.
Oh, right
it's
here.
signed. Yep, there we go.
Do we have to make a motion to sign this?
Well, it's already done. We
We're
just
just
never
following the
signed,
paperwork. Okay,
right?
okay.
Just replacement paperwork.
And Al's the one that got after you on this?
No, I called him and said we don't see someone doing the whole hearing book here.
He has to keep us up to speed on this stuff, or we'll not have any more Verizon service in town. Drop the hammer. That, when that's under old business, that's really old.
Really old. That should have been a really old business.
Oh. We've got notification of open meeting law violation, dated December 31st. Happy New Year.
I've got a couple things here, so I just want to make sure I give you the right one. All right, what are you looking at here? Because we've got a
This
couple-
says
got some-
Attorney General notification of finding on open meeting
Oh.
law violation
Yeah.
dated December 31st.
This is a finding. We also have a couple of, in mail, just a couple of appeal notifications to complainants. Like this is a letter that came addressed to the chair.
Hmm. Oh, the board responded. I'm trying to figure out where to get the date.
So, on that open meeting law complaint, what they found was that there wasn't a violation of the open meeting law. This is referring back, the complaint was filed on December 31st, but it had to do with the meeting of September 27th that we were just talking about.
Yeah, same one. I think
So there's nothing that we need to do with this, it's just that we're notified of it.
Right.
Correct, Mary?
That's right.
Do
And
we
the
have anything to sign, or
no, and the finding was
there was
no violation.
no violation? All right, we talked about this last week, to come back to it on this fall festival town hall use application. And did you get to talk to Sandy about that?
Yes, I had that other signature and spoke to her about the plan, the suggestion.
Okay. And you spoke with Maya
I
representative?
did. Yep.
This was the plan to have a member from each of the 3 different boards to facilitate the insurance.
What we talked about last week, my plan was that as chairman of the Selectboard, it would be me. As the chairman of Fall Festival Committee, it would be Sandy. She told me this was going to be her last year doing it. I think I've heard that before. And then I was going to have Stuart Harris, the chairman of the building, town hall.
Right. So are we making that a committee?
Appointment, right, an appointed committee.
Do we want to call that committee?
I would call it the Town Building, the Fall Festival Town Building Use Committee. Unless you have
Say again, Fall Festival,
Town Hall,
Town Hall.
or Town Building Use Committee. Then that would take in
Do you want to then have Fall Festival in it? If you want to be able to use it for other purposes? Or is it
Well,
only this one specific that you need anyway?
I'm not sure that this is the only one we need anyway, but my idea was that we were attempting to make that a direct link for
For the
this
Fall
issue.
Festival, right, okay. Fall Festival Town Building Use Committee. FFTBUC. Fall Festival Town Building Use Committee.
There's probably a whole federal government organization that comes up with better acronyms than that. If that works for you, it works for
I
me.
don't need those letters, the committee name is fine.
So I'll move that we make those appointments. Tom Carter as chairman of the select board, Stuart Harris as chairman of the town hall building committee, and Sandy Lilly as chairman of the fall festival committee, be on this fall festival town building use committee.
Second.
Any other discussion?
No, just wondering, does it need to be reconvened on a yearly basis, or only if the players are reconvened? The members?
Well, who knows what the next select board is going to do, but it would seem like that would be a logical thing that those people from those committees,
Could stay
you know,
until-
regardless of who they are,
Right.
right, it would be, I mean, but that,
I guess what I was getting at, so the whole purpose of the committee is who the people are, what they represent, and this year, those are the 3 members. I was just separating the role from the person.
So you're saying the motion might be chair of the select board, chair of the building committee, chair of the
And this year will be Tom
Yeah,
Carter.
correct. It's a one-year appointment, by the way.
Yeah, okay, we're getting to the same place. And
One
Stuart Harris and Cindy Lilly.
Yeah, now, right, the only reason I'm thinking there's some logic to the chairmans of those committees
Sure.
touching base and doing that, so.
A motion and a second.
Any other discussion?
No, I'm fine.
I'm good. All those in favor say aye.
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 And that covers us for Maya.
And then,
And then, on that, we held off signing the town hall use application until,
I'll get a hold of Stuart and Sandy, and we will have a meeting well in advance of Fall Festival. So we'll have to post that since we're.
just so they know, when we let me know.
Given these appointments we just did, do we have to do something with the town clerk? She usually has paperwork.
Right, you'll each see the town clerk in that capacity. I don't think you'll each need a letter because I've talked to everybody and all,
Right.
no one agreed, so.
So that gets us the signature.
Right. It's that signature, and
So we need a motion.
I don't think she left that out just because of that paragraph out.
No, she didn't,
She just,
I just didn't have it flagged.
how many, Mike's brief discussion whether there's, how many damn places do I have to sign?
Right.
So,
We never made a motion on this to sign this, did we?
As you know, usually Wayne leads people through these and that's it, I do it for Luann, so.
So I move that we approve the town hall use application for Ashfield Fall Festival Committee. Thursday, October 10th through Sunday, October 13th. Times requested are 8 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
I
Aye.
You're welcome. I can see
I
your
was
pen
just
stop.
drawing a blank, and I looked at the fifth up above it, and how far out am I?
Plus my babies.
Now we have an appointment for the sewer commission.
This is the caught that this was an elected position and needed a different expired by date, which is down there.
Because we approved this all last week, we voted it and everything that we had.
For the change, it's on a pending change.
Mary, could you do one little thing for me? When there's things for me to sign, would you put Thomas Carter? Because that's how I sign most of these things, is Thomas. I mean, it's all right. I don't think the
You do.
the annals of history will be swayed one
We'll
way
get
or
it
the
right.
other. Okay, we got that hook firmly sunk. Accounting services contract, this is the one I was going to talk about.
And I forgot, I put it back on, forgot that you were gonna talk to him Thursdays.
Right, well, it's fine that it's on here, but that's how we left it last week, is that I was gonna, since we're going to Greenfield.
It's the same contract in the September 27th, 2012.
Oh, boy.
If you look at the attachments, it's the contracts in that minutes too, as well as the business with the,
You mean word for word, it's the same contract?
yeah, it's the 2013 contract is a document in September 27th.
That's when.
And it also included the verification of free cash, so it's funny that these things are
I don't know.
same one, same meeting.
Good.
So we're not, you're gonna talk to them first.
Yeah,
So we'll just keep it
I want
this
some
on the
background
agenda.
on how it's
Yeah.
treated in all the other towns, and is it the
Yeah.
same contract that we're not at a disadvantage?
Not so,
I don't really mind if we're at a little bit of an advantage, but as long as we're not at too much of a disadvantage. Mail, we got any mail that's worth reading? Besides, something
Yeah,
better than
so,
mine.
Can we share that?
Ricky wouldn't be interested.
Free cash.
I was just gonna say, yeah, you have the free cash.
As much as I tried to talk it down, it still ended up being. So,
Oh, you each have a copy of
so
that?
what
Just-
we're
I
talking
printed
about
it
in the mail here
Oh, you
is
got
that we got notified today from the Massachusetts Department of Revenue that our free cash has been certified, which I'm amazed that it's the middle of September. I was figuring it would be October, maybe even 1st of November. And our general fund free cash amount for the town of Ashfield is $322,614. It's all right if we don't publicize that too much, because then people will want to spend it. And the at the same time, the sewer enterprise fund, the fund that the sewer commissioners are in charge of, their surplus revenue is $95,877. So,
For fun, you have a comparison to last year, because that's what we were just talking about.
right, last year we had 342, so it's only $20,000 difference. And the enterprise fund is $7,000 more. Very good, very good.
That was higher than I thought it was going to be.
David Knoll was closer to right than I was.
Don't tell him.
Huh?
You were there on that one?
I didn't bet him on that one, I should have, or maybe he should have, but don't want to have too much, but I think that's,
We don't spend it all between now and January, we have some budgeting season, huh?
we probably won't spend much of it. I can see it clicking right by.
Ricky, did you say that, I don't see finance committee, but you say finance committee got this as well?
Yeah, I saw that Ted got a copy and he said he was gonna forward it, so that's great. That's great. So, Paulette, did you have anything? I mean, it's like we only met a few days ago.
I know.
Oh,
Mary,
sorry.
this is your original picture?
Yep.
I did make a copy and I brought it back.
All right, and before you go ahead, maybe a couple other quick mail.
Oh, okay.
Realize you moved on. Just wanted to know we got town hall inspection certificate, same as last year, nothing's changed. From the building inspector.
Okay, how about the lifts? When was the last time?
Ted is going to be on the agenda for the 30th, and one of the things he's going to address is lift issues. All the paperwork went in. He was actually involved in that because he's coordinating times for a non-town building that also has to have inspections at the same time, and we have not heard back from the state. They got everything in many months ago. We just wait until the state is ready to send the money.
We've already paid for it?
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Mary, how many people did they put on that?
It's I believe it's the same as last year. It's 425, second floor.
I just remember one year it came through, you got them with a different number.
Yeah, but it's 425 second floor, 125 first. That was the corrected number.
I wasn't aware that this lift inspection had become
Annual?
no such a problem
Mm-hmm.
until we got over to Cummington Fair.
Oh.
I'm on the board at Cummington Fair, and we got a lift in the exhibit hall, and they had all the notice in the world, and nobody ever showed up to inspect it. And without an inspection certificate, it had to sit there idle, so we spent close to $100,000, I guess, putting in a lift, and nobody could use it. I used to say it was the only free ride on the fairgrounds.
It was out of order this year, though.
But it was only out of order because there wasn't an inspection certificate.
Oh.
That was the only reason.
Let's see, when I just looked at these, 2 year, 3G letters, ZBA decision, veterans, and then some meetings for some boards.
Oh, zoning board of appeals notice of finding and decision. All this has to do with those neighbors.
I will look here.
Just be brief.
I got a card.
Maybe should we read this?
Yeah, the findings of the zoning board noted the unanimous support voiced by the public at the hearing. No opposition to the application was received by the board. The existing fire suppression system meets criteria for structure in section 2 of the Ashfield zoning bylaws, being a combination of materials for permanent or temporary occupancy or use with a vertical dimension of at least 2 feet and at least one dimension over 6 feet. Therefore, the proposed canopy is considered an extension of a non-conforming structure. Both canopy and sign to be addressed as special permit as per chapter 40, section 6. Though the canopy does extend the non-conformity and provides substantial public improvement in public safety, convenience, and comfort. Relocating the structure further back is not possible given existing building, parking, and side setbacks. The new location of the sign moves it slightly closer to the front property line, thus extending the non-conformity, but reduces the height to meet zoning bylaws. They issued a special permit. The criteria for a special permit are met as follows. Proposal will not overload public water, drainage, or sewer systems, and in fact should improve drainage on the property. There is no new impact of sound, odor, or noise, and impact of light off-site, which should be reduced with lights flush with the lower edge of the canopy. No topographic change or removal of trees. Stormwater runoff will be redirected to street catch basin. I'm just thinking, I'm not really looking at anything, Paul, I'm just thinking over that basin.
It's you and the sign.
No additional impact on groundwater pollution and possible improvement with new roof concrete base. No change to entrances. The use is compatible with neighborhood since the use already exists. So they voted unanimously. Special permit for the construction. Construction be commenced within 1 year of the date of issuance of the special permit. Now, super now. That was the third person.
That's the third person.
Good, good deal. That'll be tore up and be a mess for a year. I'm gonna get that done. It'll be a year, but it'll be a while. But it'll be good when it's done. Like so many other things. Oh, here's one, Office of the Attorney General, Kachina Urian. We understand that on or about July 5th, you filed a complaint with the Ashfield Selectboard alleging a violation of the open meeting law. The public body is required to notify our office of the complaint and any remedial action taken. Our office received notification in response from the board on August 5th. Says under the open meeting law, a complaint is ripe for review by our office when the complainant files a copy of the initial complaint with the Division of Open Government, provided that at least 30 days have passed since the complaint was filed with the public body. Our office currently has no record of a complaint filed by you in this matter. Accordingly, we presume that the action taken by the public body was sufficient and will close this file unless we receive a request for further review by this office and a copy of the initial complaint by Wednesday, September 11th, which was last week. Lori Zivkovich.
And of course, the complainant gets their own copy.
What's that?
The complainant gets a copy directly.
Sure. And this one's to Suzanne Corbett. This is our copy. Understand that on or about January 16th, you filed a complaint with the select board alleging same thing. The board notified the office of claims granting an extension of time in which to respond. An extension was granted on Valentine's Day. As of this date, we have not received a response from the board. On July 10th, we received from you a letter dated July 8th stating that you are not requesting further investigation and you are withdrawing your complaint. Therefore, although the board has not responded to the complaint, we now consider this matter closed. Department of Veterans Services. There's going to be a meeting on October 10th. Your calendar, October 10th is the week before Columbus Day, or
Thursday.
yeah, Thursday before. So, Department of Veterans Services meeting of the Central Franklin County Veterans District will be held on Thursday, October 10th. Chairperson David Gendron will call the meeting to order at 5 p.m. at 190 Millers Falls Road, Turner's Falls. Vote on new slate of officers for the coming year. Vote to approve the minutes. Vote to approve the 14-15 budget. Sincerely, Leo Parent, Director. Has anybody been going from Ashfield to
Once.
No, that no one has. I talk to them every so often and see them.
Who went?
At council meeting, no, I say I talk to Mark and Leo every so often, but I haven't been to one of those meetings, and I don't remember.
Did Norm go to one? Did Norm go to one when he was on the board?
If so, your memory's better than mine.
It would make
I don't know
sense.
why
Just remember.
I might have.
For some reason, I thought he went to one they would recall. I can go.
Well, that'd be
Would you
great,
like to
because,
go?
no, because I can't.
Okay.
I'm gonna be tied up, like the 9th, 10th, and 11th. I was almost wondering, would it be all right for us to send a delegate, someone in town? And I don't know. I shouldn't say
Did you have
that.
somebody that's a veteran?
Well, I'm thinking of somebody that is active in it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying
Do
that
you know
you're
somebody?
not.
No, but do you know somebody?
Well, I was wondering if Wayne Farrell would do it, if we wanted, and it would be all right with them that we,
I'm sure.
Wayne Farrell or Kurt Shep, but I'd almost think Wayne.
Want me to check with Wayne,
Would you?
and then if you can't, go and check with Kurt?
I mean, does that make sense to you to do that?
Sure, yeah, I don't know. They could tell us whether
Because-
they find out.
Right,
Because
and
they're
they would be more interested in what the services are and
Mhm.
maybe,
It's okay. No
I'm
problem.
okay with
No,
delegating
that's
that.
okay.
I mean, probably it would be good to have somebody come in at budget time so we had a better idea of what we're appropriating the money for.
They
You
did
know,
come,
if somebody,
Kurt,
they did come
Come
this
to
way,
us
every
before.
year, I think, yeah.
he physically wasn't here this year. I think the year before he was physically here.
That's right, he didn't come this year.
Not physically.
but I think if we could delegate
Sure.
one of those guys or somebody else,
I'll just take a copy of this with me before I leave tonight, Mary, or you can email me a copy if you want.
Want me to scan it and email
Sure,
it to you?
that's even easier. Then if Wayne ends up wanting a company, he's all ready to go too. Okay.
and this we got in an email, the Division of Local Services legal staff will offer its annual seminar, What's New in Municipal Law, Friday, September 27th at the Log Cabin Banquet and Meeting House. The morning session will also include a panel discussion on local tax and payment in lieu of tax agreements,
The pilot program.
such as those related to economic development, energy generation, and exempt institutions.
Like in Amherst, there are places that are exempt, so they
Churches,
pilot, they pay money in lieu of tax.
Well, what about,
land trust, and
not that it's directly related to this, but Lenny came in with his buddy. Remember talking about that up there, and we haven't heard a word since. Remember he was talking about the tax exemption, asking about the, so, if you see him, if I
Lenny?
see him, we should, where are we with this? Because we kind of left it that if he wanted to do something with it, we needed to get together, we need to get together with the assessors and
Right.
probably have to have a public hearing. And if I remember right, the town had to vote if they decided to do that, so. But, have any questions for panel discussion, please submit it by Wednesday the 11th, miss that.
Isn't this the one you were saying you were going to go to?
I was saying that I was thinking of going to it, but also asked the board if they thought,
It's all day the 27th, right?
oh, it's a good idea or not.
The afternoon says, will 3 concurrent workshops, assessment and collection of betterments and municipal fees and charges, new and recurring enterprise, community preservation and other special funds, and municipal personnel and workforce issues.
So it was the pilot and the municipal personnel that seemed the ones that are of interest from my perspective.
Do they have a time in there?
Registrations must be received by the 18th.
When did you crash the party after lunch?
And is that the one that says people will not be accepted at the door? One that I was looking at basically. It was the first time I'd seen something explicitly stated, but I don't know if it's that
Can you
one.
email this to
It
us?
says advanced registration required, no walk-ins.
That's what it was. But that doesn't necessarily mean you couldn't register to go for the afternoon.
Right.
Go in the afternoon.
We're talking about assessment and collection of betterments and municipal fees and that sort of thing. I wonder if the sewer commissioners, if they got a copy of this, as far as assessments and betterments and that sort of thing, because that doesn't come from us. That doesn't come from the town of Ashfield.
Right. I can send it to him
That's-
already tomorrow and bring attention to it since it's a Wednesday.
That may be up to them. I mean, I suppose it could even have something to do with the water district.
The first one, yeah.
Yeah. So,
Would you like the copy?
I'm not, it's nothing that I'm interested in, but I do think there's probably going to be some information there. So if you want to go, Mary, I guess I'd send a yeehaw. If it fits. So I was wondering about you just wonder how well that distributed that gets when it comes around. I mean, you forwarded it to us, but did it go to the assessors? We're talking about assessments and so forth.
I can't remember. I'd have to look and see what I did with it. I do often, send things to highway, fire, or I pretty much try to look at things or planning board to see if it's something that any boards or committees might be interested in. But
Oh, they're in work. I was just wondering, I may give them a call, Mary, and see if, where I am in Amherst, if I could scoot over and catch up for the afternoon.
Which one are you looking at?
Well, they've got right, they've got these 3 things. If they're running concurrently, I'll pick one, but if they're just doing 1, 2, 3.
They have one on special funds that we don't ever seem to get quite enough time to get our arms around.
This community preservation, I think that's the one where we have not voted to participate in that, because it's a percentage of money you kick in and hope you get something back later.
Right, but we have a lot of special funds in the town, right? I mean, there's,
Yep. They're just not that one that the state is.
I think we must be close to, I want to say there's close to $300,000 in special donations in the funds. Does that sound right? It's quite a long list. May not be quite that.
you're talking about all the various trusts.
Yeah.
It's not a lost cause. Morning presentation slides and afternoon workshop materials will be distributed at the door. They will also be posted online after October 4th, after the October 4th seminar. Reference books containing this year's legislation and cases will be available online before the seminar. You do not have to wait. Oh, all right, you're right. I didn't see that. You get to pick one in the afternoon.
Right.
Which one do we want the most of?
Well, they're all good, depending on whose ox is being gored, you know, I mean,
I
the
was-
tax collector and so forth, betterments and liens and that sort of thing, on how to collect them, and, you know, and assessors there, the special funds would be kind of a finance committee type deal.
I'll bet they'd still let people in. I wonder if we should have Mary forward this, like, to the assessors. I don't know, the finance committee,
Well, you can't,
whomever.
right, we can't take a long time to do it because it's ready
Right.
in 2 days, right?
Right, but I bet if you call on the phone, you can
And
probably
this
make
one
something happen.
is, there's a fee on this one, right?
Right, it's only $50, right. But I think it says contact and there's a number. I bet if you contacted and said, okay, the check's heading
Does
down.
that include lunch?
Probably, so you can
And-
see if there's a different fee for just the afternoon.
And the view of the foliage just starting to change from,
That's included.
I think it's free.
that's free?
That's free.
So
I
it's
can
in
take
the-
it
it's in
out,
the-
I'll make notes on it and check to see who it was sent to and see if there's any.
It's in.
Or just forward it, maybe just forward it to them again in case they forgot.
Do that.
Assessors, Finance Committee. What you get now?
It's-
Oh, yes, this one.
It's in the $50.
It's in the $50. The
Did I
the
tell
free
you-
view?
Did I ever tell you this story?
I don't think so.
Years ago, this was a long time ago, probably in the mid-60s, this fellow was selling farm equipment and so forth, and he walked into this guy's barn, and this is still when they were squatting down between the cows, you know, to milk the cows. The guy walked in, and you know, in that day and age, the gentleman wore these nice felt hats. So he walks in to talk to the guy while he's milking cows, and the cow's tail came and knocked his felt hat out of the air. So at the end of the week, he's doing his expense report, and he puts down how much gas he bought, you know, and so on and so forth, and at the bottom, he puts felt hat, $5. He sends it to his boss, and the next week, the expense check comes back, but there's a note attached to it. Says, we don't pay for felt hats. So that Friday comes and he writes down the gas and all his little expenses for the week, and he puts at the bottom, felt hat, $5. Next week, the check comes, boss attaches a note. I will not discuss this with you again. We do not pay for felt hats. So Friday comes. He's filling out his expense report, gets it all filled out, and he attaches a note to the expense report that says, the felt hat's in there, you find it. So the foliage is in that.
That's probably the majority of it.
So anyway, so this is the meeting we're going to Thursday. So advanced open meeting law topics.
Advanced?
Yeah. So we'll go to that. And then,
Who's teaching it?
Don.
Oh, Donna's gonna teach it.
And then this we got, was this today? No.
No,
There was another alert that came today. I got some in there. No, I didn't take time to look at it tonight. But, Massachusetts Selectmen's Association Fall Conference is October 5th.
Oh, MMA. Yes, and they usually do it on
October
a
5th
Saturday.
at the Tri-County Regional Technical Vocational High School in Franklin. So guess who isn't going to be there?
The 5th is a Saturday.
I'm saved, but I won't do that. I'm going to be at a wedding in East Burke, Vermont, so I'll be saved. I think I won't miss the wedding.
As chair, can you advise me of the location of Franklin?
Franklin
Is it,
is just off of 495. It's east.
oh, it's east. Okay.
Franklin Franklin should be east and slightly south on 495, I believe. It's not too far from Foxborough.
Oh, okay.
Okay? Got through that in good shape. So,
That's all.
again, liaison is
That-
on.
But that's because I had already posted just before we had the meeting on Thursday, and at that point I realized it had been dropped from both, so
Do you
back
have-
on.
do you have anything?
it's back on.
Chief did the-
Nothing new. I copied the picture of the fire department's rescue truck we had last week, and I was going to email it, as we discussed possibly over to Ashfield News. I made the copy today and brought your original back, because you said it was the only one we had.
The only thing I was thinking after that, we talked about the Ashfield News, which is great, you should get the Ashfield. It would be all right if it was in the West County, or the
Oh,
Independent.
good idea. Perhaps even
Recorder.
the Greenfield Recorder.
So,
You could make a color copy of that picture.
Send an electronic copy.
Okay, all right.
And I'll
Okay.
just give it to the editors, we'll see what they do. It's the new truck.
It won first
It
prize.
won first prize at Franklin County Fair.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Sounds like a good thing for the neighbors.
so email you a copy of it.
Yeah.
That would be
Okay.
excellent.
Thank you.
Good.
Ashfield News, West County Recorder.
So since Thursday, I don't have anything either. Tomorrow, I'm gonna get together with Tommy in the morning and find out about this grader business.
Okay.
About the bids for that.
And sometime we're gonna find out from Donna regarding the fact that we moved forward to fill the highway position. And did that grader come? The test model here?
Oh, yeah, he liked it. They had lots of bells and whistles.
Is it still here?
No.
Well, they took it back.
It most likely wouldn't have fit within the budget.
Oh,
I mean, it was nice, but it just had a lot of, according to Tom, but,
outside our budget.
I'm just trying to think of the day this week that I can get together with Donna and Carl.
Well, maybe you should. just
Oh,
share
I'll see
over
her.
the phone.
This year Thursday night?
I'll see her Thursday night. I'll buy her coffee and a cookie. Huh? I'll buy her a coffee and a cookie. And
That sounds like a good
I'll even
consultation.
carry it outside for her while she smokes a cigarette. All right, I got my 3 things for Thursday night. Public comment. Ricky?
I have a question. We want to get back together on the lighting committee, and Jane Willis is willing to be another member on the committee. She's here on Main Street, a doctor. We only have 3 people on the committee. So what do I have to do to get her onto the
Who are
committee?
the 3 that you have on there now?
Me, Andurian, and Satch from the hardware store.
And who's the 4th one?
Jane Willis. She's lives across the street from me. She's a doctor in Shelburne Falls. She lives in the apartment upstairs and
Oh, yeah, okay. So do you need 5? Normally you want to have a,
it'd be nice to have the 4th one.
and this is the street light committee.
Yeah. We haven't met in quite a while, but I think we're still a committee. And I'll sign up for it.
Did you all get appointment letters? I can't remember, or go in and get sworn in, so you're all set?
I'm pretty sure in 13 we did, so we can meet, but she's interested.
Have you
being
done
on
it
the
in the
committee.
last 2 months, I guess is what I'm,
Hmm?
has it happened in the last 2 months? Let's do some research on that, and, because we did do reappointments right close to the 1st of July.
Oh, right.
So if your bell hasn't been rung, it may be something that we overlooked or wondered if there was anything that needed to be done.
Then we need to be back to.
Or we could even, the town clerk, when she did the research, couldn't find people to fill the positions, that might be.
I wondered when they were appointed, it didn't have an end date on it.
Maybe. But I think we were,
We'll do a little research.
I don't know, I came in and signed something, I think.
I mean, it sounds pretty safe that we don't want to add 43 streetlights on Main Street or anything. I feel pretty confident about that. We'll do some research and take that up.
Do we want to have her send us a note with the name of the person? They want to record.
I would hope we have a note of it right here. I don't think we need to make it more complicated than it is. It does seem though if we have a committee, we ought to try to find 5 that would be. But if we can't, we can't.
And when it was put together, only 3 people were appointed.
Only 3.
The committees are usually odd numbers, so if you're adding the 4th.
Let's do some research and look back. I mean, do you have somebody that doesn't want to be on it? Or you don't know?
I don't
Just
know.
haven't even.
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's a very good point. I mean, why appoint people that don't have an interest in meeting? That's kind of a.
Right.
Okay. So, what recommendation would you have for us to move forward on what we met about in the spring?
Oh, to all the fire stations?
Well, the fire station, and then as we went through the budget, right, we talked about there's a lot of things. I mean, last week you missed a field trip down into the cellar here.
I've been in the cellar a lot.
And since it's been
Oh,
dug
no,
out?
no.
Oh, we took
No,
a field,
that's
we
it.
took
That's too bad.
we took a field trip last week.
And you could stand up.
Yes, we could. We could stand up, so but, we should start to try to come
Get
up with.
everybody together.
Well, we've got money appropriated, but I'm not anxious to spend money until we have a better plan on where we need to go. And that's a committee probably we need to have.
So you want a time for all committees to get together?
Yeah, but I'm trying to figure out, we haven't appointed any committee to work on this. I mean, is that part of the town hall building committee? I mean, we want to incorporate that firehouse and so forth into it. I mean, I think it's bigger than town hall building committee.
Definitely bigger than town hall.
Give it some thought, and if you want to call or throw a stone over with a note on it or whatever, you want to come down and we see each other, flag me down, whatever. I mean, we kicked a lot of stones around that Saturday morning. Too many for the 45 minutes we spent on it.
Was it on the fire station?
Yeah.
So you're thinking of perhaps a separate
I think it's a
fire station building committee, because it's,
well,
It's something that everybody's got to get together with because it involves so many different pieces.
I think it's big. I think it,
You know, where do we start? What's the priority list?
it's a vision. I mean, it's trying to figure out a vision, just not any different than
We go to Ashfield,
when I met
vision.
with Stuart and Brian on the cellar. You know, there's all kinds of possibilities, but how's it going to work into the big scheme of things for? And sometimes I think we've made decisions on doing things to get us through.
Band-aids.
How to, well,
Band-aids, yeah.
you know, I'm not sure that we've been real good about 20, 30-year plans on where we're going. So I think about it, would you please? I mean, I know you're interested in it. It was you and I and Jamie and Dell and Brian and I can't remember who else was there that day. Do you remember? Maybe that was it.
Rob?
Robbie Poison was their spark chaser. He was there.
Yeah, Doug might have come in.
Yeah, Doug Field. So. But I think if we look at, my personal opinion, Ricky, is if we just look at it as a fire department issue, I think we're missing the bigger picture. I think we gotta back up and see this building too. That's my personal opinion. But that could be a really big nut.
I was going to share with Brian, when I signed the warrants and we look at the electrical, the last one caught my eye, it was for the fire station. And the usage was down, and I'm wondering if in part, because they now have the small refrigerator instead of the big one.
Should be a
And
dramatic
maybe lights.
difference. We were estimating it was close to half the electrical usage in the building.
The refrigerator?
The old one, yeah.
What was it, an old International Harvester?
Because they kept it just to run it for Fall Festival. They need to be able to cool a lot of stuff at Fall Festival, but then they can unplug it and just use the small one that the Green Committee got. And the last time I signed, they noticed it, and I said, oh, I just don't remember the numbers, I'd have to go look. I should have written them down. But it caught my eye, so it had to be enough to be.
Wait till you see the next electric bill.
For what?
It'll be low. We hadn't met for 6 weeks. Just think of the electricity we save by not being here for 4 or 5 hours. Any other business? Seeing none, I move to adjourn at 9:20.
Second?
Second. All those in favor? Aye. Good. We did it again. We knocked it off.